Day, ladies and gents, welcome to TFI. On this day we look at Vault 2018, what's new, off the back of looking at what's new in Inventor 2018. There's only a handful of new features in Vault 2018, and that breaks off into like a couple of dozen line items, so we'll take a look at all of these, demonstrating some of them and glancing over others. But this is good stuff. This is good stuff. I haven't done a what's new in Vault for a long time because usually it's an absolute load of rubbish. It's more infuriating reading the what's new list in the past than it's been motivating me to do a video on it on YouTube. So this is actually something which is really good, and I'll talk about it as I go in more detail. So getting started. Some of these features will only apply to professional and workgroup. I know a couple of them will apply to Vault Basic, but it's mostly a workgroup and professional enhancement. I'll mention that as I go. So getting started. New automated PDF creation for document control. Hallelujah! Finally, after like 15 years of Vault, with Autodesk stubbornly beating the DWF drum, DWF, you gotta use DWF, you gotta use you could DWF, rendition, what do Adobe know about drones? What do Adobe know about drones? I'll tell you what Adobe know about drones, mate. They know a lot more than you know about making a DWF, is what Adobe know about drones. That DWF file format was goddamn hideous. It was awful, it was unusable, it's had no development from what I can see since about 2012. It couldn't handle large assemblies, its fidelity was ugly, quality was dreadful, it was a horrible viewer, the file format broke and fell apart whenever you try to create a large assembly inside there. Drawings line quality was awful. It was just a horrible file format, but they stubbornly stuck with it for years and years and years, and finally, I don't know who's responsible inside the Vault team or within higher management, I don't know, but for making this decision, hats off to you, sir or madam, for finally coming to your senses, because this is exactly what people needed and wanted. Vault now creates PDFs natively inside the Vault application rather than sticking to this stupid DWF file format. Right. The way this works, it's kind of a first pass. I was saying in the Inventor what's new that Autodesk typically, they bring something in and it's sort of half finished, and then they'll go, oh, we'll finish it in a future version. I was seeing that here. Right? In administration, Vault settings, you can't miss it. It's right in your face. We've got PDF options, configure PDF publishing options. In here, we've got only two applications, standard 2D AutoCAD and 2D Inventor. So there's no mention here of the AutoCAD verticals, like of electrical, mechanical, etc. It's just AutoCAD, just Inventor. So I'm going to focus on Inventor settings. There's a limited amount of settings here, but there should be enough to kind of get PDFs made and working. Enough to get a decent enough quality PDF made anyway. So you can add it as an attachment. The PDF will be created as an attachment to the original drawing. Upload to the source file location, dump the PDF in the same folder as the drawing, or dump all PDFs in a flat folder, so you can configure that. No idea what this one does yet. I've read the help file, but it doesn't make any sense yet. I need to figure out exactly what the setting does, but it says allows both the published PDF and the source file to have the same revision value. With or without that setting, I could have made the PDF have the same revision as the drawing. So I don't know what that does yet. Vector resolution, DPI of the PDF, fine. Line weights, or print all sheets in the IDW, or just one, fine. And all colors is black monochrome setting, that's fine. So we've got a couple of settings there. There's more that could possibly be added in the future, but for now it's a good first pass. And the way this works is you configure the PDF job as a lifecycle state transition. So this is only applicable to workgroup and professional. Vault Basic doesn't have lifecycle, so you won't be able to do this. So in lifecycles, you go to your lifecycle that you're using for your drawings. In my case, it's TFI lifecycle. Edit the lifecycle, and then you tell Vault on what transition do you want it to make the PDF. So from when I move a drawing from work in progress to released, I want it to create the PDF. So you go actions, synchronize the properties, and update PDF using job server. So this is a job server / job processor based function. It will only work when you're using the job processor, and all PDF jobs will be offloaded onto the job processor when a file is moved from work in progress to release. So let's demonstrate it. Another thing you've got to do, and I'm just having a chat with a guy from Autodesk about this. It's an absolutely compulsory thing that you have to do to get this to work, and that is when you create the PDF. Right, well, I'll create the PDF first, and then I'll explain. Right, so there's the drawing. I'm going to change the state of the drawing and all related parts to released. So that's going to create the job. That's going to trigger the job in the job processor to make the PDF. So here's my job processor. Let's just give it a kick in the backside. That's going to do the sync properties job to make sure all the properties, all the I properties are all up to date. And the final thing it does will be the PDF job, which triggers after the sync properties job has finished, and it shouldn't take much time to do, it'll do it as I would assume it uses the Apprentice server in the background to create the PDF. There it is. Autodesk Vault.pdf.create, jobs triggered, job is processing. Should only take a couple of seconds. And then when that's done, I'll head on over to the folder to take a look at what the PDF looks like. And I need to explain a couple of things, which I think it's going to be assumed that as a Vault admin, you'll know about this and you'll know to do this. Or anybody trying to set up this functionality who doesn't have high-level Vault knowledge might not think on to do this. So I need to explain it, or just at least mention it in passing in the What's New video. And you can tell I'm trying to fill time as it's making the goddamn PDF. Hurry up already, man! Hurry up already! I haven't done one today, so it's probably firing up all the background processes and getting things loaded and grabbing a license and all that kind of stuff. So there we go. Right, that's done. So if I do a refresh, right, the PDF will be sat in the same folder as the DWG. There it is. The PDF, for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure that this is a good idea for every company, the PDF is placed onto its own category called Design Representation. It's given a state, it's released, and it's given a revision letter is the same as the drawing. So the PDF is tagged with metadata as revision A and released and locked. I'm not entirely sure that's a great idea, because what happens is if I now roll back the life cycle of the drawing, so I'm going to roll the life cycle from release to whip on this drawing. Yeah, drawing's now back to work in progress. This PDF is now pretty much obsolete. It's out of date because I'm undoing the release of the drawing, and the only reason I do that is the same as a quick change, as I might have made a mistake. I've made a mistake on the drawing and I need to create an additional change to the title block or to the views or to the dimensions. Well, what happens is now when I re-release that drawing, it needs to obviously make a new PDF. So I'll go to change state and then re-release this drawing. That'll create a new job in the job processor to make a new PDF. It'll need to then upload the new PDF and replace this one. But it can't do that because this PDF is locked. Right, so if I just refresh the local file, so you can see the padlock there, the PDF's locked. It can't replace this old PDF with a new one because it's locked. So as a compulsory mandatory step, all Vault admins have to go to the lifecycle scheme that the PDF uses, which is called Design Representation Process, and they have to give the account that the job processor is using modify rights to released data on that scheme so that the account can replace the PDF with a new one. If you don't do that, that PDF there is going to still be the original revision A before I rolled it back. So that's a mandatory step that you have to go through. But fortunately, Autodesk have documented that on their website, so they're aware that you do have to do that, and they've provided guidance. But as a Vault admin, you just have to know to do that, or else you'll come across this as a problem. Especially when it comes to people viewing PDFs which are out of date. I mean, that is quite a big deal. If it was up to me, just on a side note, I personally will set this up without the PDF having any metadata assigned to it. I don't want the PDF to have a category, a lifecycle state, or a revision. I mean, for crying out loud, it's a read-only file anyway. It doesn't need a revision. The revision will be displayed on the PDF itself inside the file. So I don't need to see revision A here. I don't need it to be released, and I don't need it to be locked. It's a read-only file anyway. Another option Autodesk said, which could be feasible, is something which I mentioned to them, and they said, yes, this is something we can see people doing. I personally can't, is when you're changing the state of a drawing, you enable attachments in the change state dialog box so that you can see the PDF, and then whenever you whip a drawing, you have to whip the PDF at the same time, and that'll change the PDF and the drawing to revision B at the same time. That's completely unmanageable in any environment. When you're doing a change state on a data set, the last thing you want to do is change the state of maybe 10, 12, 20 PDFs which are in a drawing set. You don't want to be doing that. That's too much extra file management on top of what people already have to do. And I mean, a whip PDF, it just doesn't make any sense either. I mean, what is a whip PDF? Doesn't make any sense. All right, so scrolling down the list, we've taken a look at all this: publish and store PDF in Vault, batch plot enhancements. They've made a couple of changes to the way the batch plot works, but for me, until we're able to select a top level assembly or top level BOM and print all drawings in the data set, all drawings in all sub assemblies and all subparts, gather all drawings and use those in the batch plot, I'm not particularly interested in how batch plot works. I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't even looked at it. It might do that now, but I haven't seen anything. Let me know in the comments if Vault actually does that now, and then I'll take a bloody good close look at it. But by the looks of it, it's just a couple of small tweaks to the batch plot in Vault 2018, which should apply to Vault Basic, except PDF functionality. Copy design improvements. Copy design. I've yet to work in an office where people haven't just turned off the new copy design because it's terrible. But by the looks of it, in 2018, they've just fixed a couple of bugs and restored some old functionality. By the looks of it, preserves Inventor logic rules now, for example, that's a bug. This one here, a copy design allows action rules to be used across different vaults. I mean, to me, that smacks of something where a big customer's come along and said, right, we needed to do this, and we've got enough weight to be able to make you do it. That's what this sounds like, as I can't see this being worthy of development time for a new product version, unless a big customer comes along and says, you fucking better do this. That's just like meh. Right, but this here, new administrator roles. This is a game changer for where I work anyway. New administrator roles. In Vault 2017 and beyond, you had one administrator account. That was it. You had one administrator account with one administrator role. Pretty much God mode. To make a super user an administrator, you have to give them this role, and they could do everything. They could undo all your admin settings, they could undo all your permissions, they could undo everything, change anything they want. The next level down from an administrator was just a basic document manager with absolutely no administrative roles at all. So now, in Vault 2018, we've got 3 additional administrator levels. So these are kind of like sub-administrator levels. Administrator LT, you could call them. So we've got Configuration Administrator, Project Administrator, and Security Administrator. Each one of these roles has a certain subset of the administrator, full administrator role. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I'm happy about this. I am happy about this, but I wish they would have let us customize our own roles. To be able to say, I want to make a new administrator role, right? I'm going to call it Custom Administrator, and that user can do that, and that. Why couldn't we do that? It's coming from a place of complete naivety and ignorance, but that would have been a lot better than predefined roles, because they're never always going to be perfect. And I'll tell you why. In my current company, all right, this is a use case for these, and this is the reason why I am actually going to upgrade to Vault 2018 in one of the companies that I work for. In the company that I work for right now, we've just been bought out by the Chinese state. Right, we're actually owned by China. And as part of their acquisition of our company in the UK, I have to give them a copy of our vault. I have to replicate our vault to China. But UK law prevents me from giving them some drawings or showing them some drawings and some parts. So I have to go into our vault and hide some folders and some files. But part of the agreement with China is that they have a member of staff on site who is an administrator. So if I was to use Vault 2017, I could hide all the files and folders that they're not allowed to see, give one of their users the administrator role, and they could log in and undo everything. And that would leave us liable under UK law to be prosecuted, and that's not a good place to be. So now, as part of the agreement, I can say, right, I'll set up the vault, and I'll give one of your users a project administrator, for example. You can do that. There you go. You've got an administrator. Crack on. And now I can satisfy the terms of the contract and still hide stuff from them without them having the risk of having them undo everything that I've set up. These new 3 levels of administrator roles are a game changer for me. Massive, 100%. The only compelling reason for me to upgrade one of my sites is this here. It is huge, but I imagine that's not going to be useful for every single site. This only some cases is this going to be useful, but I would imagine there's quite a few companies out there who've wanted to give a user or a super user some kind of administrative responsibility without giving them full God mode. So this is going to be useful for that. So the configuration administrator is more of a role which allows somebody to change configuration settings, like to change the numbering schemes and manage behavior definitions and manage property definitions. So it's a very low level administrative role. We've also got the project administrator, which is more of a file management administrator. They can do unconditional deletes, for example. So there's a lot of users that are going to probably end up getting the project administrator role, and the one that you're maybe not going to use so much is the security administrator. So this is the one where a user has been given the rights to change ACL permissions, that's access control list, folder level, file level permission lists. That user with this administrator role can change permission sets. But if you just want someone to do that, but then not mess about with deleting files and changing configurations, then that one would be just suitable just as well. So yeah, that's those new 3 roles. Very, very useful. It doesn't completely solve my problem. My problem also, as well as giving the Chinese an administrator, they want to be able to create their own users. If I let them create their own users, then they can create a user that's got the full administrative role. I cannot hide that, so I need to figure out that. That's another problem to solve. So Vault hasn't quite done it for me 100%, but it's better than it, definitely better than it was. Okay, these next couple of what's new bits and pieces and tidbits are kind of shared with the Inventor team. I don't know who's taking credit for them. Maybe this was the work of the Vault team, I don't know, but it looks like the Inventor team is taking credit for it. But these are in-session, in-CAD Vault enhancements, which we looked at in the Inventor What's New. So for starters, we've got the Detachable Vault browser. So for example, when we open up an Inventor file, we can now hit the little plus button here, and then we can add the Vault tab as a separate floatable dockable window. So let's just shut it down. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Hit the plus, select Vault, and you can now pull off the Vault browser and then dock it as a separate window underneath the standard model browser, and you don't have to hit the model in Vault and flick between the two different view layouts for the model browser. So that one's pretty good. I would love that. That's going to be really useful for a lot of people. It can float around. You can move that in a separate window. You can dock it at the top. You can dock it at the side. You can put that wherever you want, and it'll float around. Chances are most people are going to dock it underneath there and have it side by side, or if you've got enough screen real estate, maybe dock it like that. So that's really great. Another thing we can do, which is amazing, is we can now search within the Vault browser. We can look at it in the Inventor What's New. You can now search within the Inventor browser, but you can do the same search in the Vault browser as well, which is brilliant. Hit search for heatsink, and then that's going to only find files that suit the criteria for heatsink. So there you go. There's heatsink there. You can see it's returned. If you want to, well, why is it broad? Why is it broad? It's showing you the hierarchy structure leading up to the top to get to heatsink. So that's why it's showing you these files on the way down to that file there. So that's pretty good. That is nice. That is nice. Right, go to Vault folder. You can now right-click on a file in the browser and tell it to go straight to the Vault window. Open up Vault Client and go straight to the folder in Vault Client where that file resides. That's fine. New open file options. I did try and find this option, but I couldn't find it. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but it's not too much of a big deal. But in theory, it should let you open a file from Vault straight to Express mode now. I couldn't find the option though. New application version file property. I don't understand why this is here. Don't get me wrong, more options and more properties that are exposed, the better, but I can't think of a use case where this is useful. I've needed in the past to find or know more about which product the file was related to. So was it AutoCAD or AutoCAD Electrical or AutoCAD Mechanical, but never the actual application version year, like 2017 build 2 blah blah blah. I can't figure out a use case for this, but either way, it's going to be useful for somebody somewhere. And but there you go. So there's the application property version at the end, showing you Inventor 2018 was the version that this part in these files was saved in last. And then this one down here at the bottom, you can see there's different file version 2017.2. I can't figure out why you'd ever want to know this, or what kind of rule you'd create to divide that file onto a different category or lifecycle based on the application version. No idea, but I'm sure there is a use case somewhere which spawned that bit of development. Numbering scheme descriptions now display when you save a file. So when you've got a numbering scheme built up of different subsections, you can now see what each subsection means. So if your numbering scheme is 01 dash then a random number, hitting the little drop down here will tell you that 01 is a part, 02 is an assembly. That's great. That is really useful. Never had that in the past. Vault client updates this year. This is, I think, bugged. I don't know. I think this might be bugged. Right. So what I'm going to do is show you this, because maybe someone from Autodesk is watching this and they're thinking, what do you mean it's bugged? What do you mean? You can't just say it's bugged. What are you talking about? Right. I'm going to clear my workspace completely. Right. My workspace is empty. When I download any files from this graphics card assembly, it should go into this folder here, GTX 970. So what I'm going to do is start a new assembly, and I'm going to use this Insert to CAD right-click option. Back to Inventor. So the new thing that we've got in Vault Client is the ability to place a component into your assembly straight from Vault Client. Great. Amazing. Right? So let's go to, for example, DisplayPort, right? This IPT here. I want to place this file into my assembly. This DisplayPort is located in the GTX 970 folder, right? So let's go Project Explorer, Engineering Data, GTX 970, DisplayPort. Right, click on that. New option, Insert into CAD. Brilliant. It's going to load up a little engine. It's going to place that file straight into Inventor from Vault Client. Absolutely brilliant. But what I noticed is that the DisplayPort's now got the little swirly symbol there, which means that there's something wrong. I thought, what the hell can be wrong? I've cleared my workspace. There should be nothing wrong here. So when I go to my local folder, can you see GTX 970? The folder's empty. it's placed it at the root of my project. And that's not going to work for anybody. So yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on there. It's put the file at the root of the workspace. I think it might be all right. I mean, I've just tried checking it in there, and it's still checked the assembly. And even though it's physically referencing a file at the root of the workspace, it should have put that file into the GTX 970 folder. So I don't know what's going on with that. Someone from Autodesk is going to have to look at that and try and figure out why it's doing that. But either way, it's something. Custom job types. So this is kind of integrating the old Autodesk lifecycle or the Vault lifecycle event editor into the product. So you can now go to a lifecycle state, and then for the transition between, for example, review and released, you can select this new custom jobs tab and then hit add and add a custom job that you create via development work to the lifecycle state. You used to do that through the old lifecycle event editor, but now you can do it in product. Okay guys, that is it. That is the extent of the what's new in Vault 2018. There is not a massive amount there, and most of it does only apply to Vault Professional and Vault Workgroups. Vault Basics not really got much love, but then again, they're a small team. The Vault team, they're a small team, and they can only put so much in. I'm hoping that now that the Vault team are part of the Inventor team, or they're under the Inventor team, or however way it's structured, that there's going to be more development work put into Vault, into more useful features than there ever has been before, because historically the what's new in Vault has been a pretty piss poor list. It's been a poor list of features that nobody asked for, questionable reasons as to why these new features have gone into the product, whilst they've been ignoring a lot of the most requested features on the idea station. So anyway, I'm going to knock it on the head there. Vault 2018, that's what's new. Hopefully there's going to be quite a few people pleased with what's in this, because I know for sure I'm happy with this. But yeah, right, my jaw's hurting now. See you in the next one. Toodles.